Hello everyone, we are going to make this. Okay, a nice little line chart. We're going to use Illustrator to get the bits going, and then we're going to animate it in After Effects. All right, let's go and learn how to make this. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is, just like our bar graph, we're going to create a new document in Illustrator. We're going to make sure it's 920 pixels by 1080. We're going to click Create. Now I'm going to grab my graph tool. Okay, and I'm going to hold it down. Okay, grab the bar graph tool, the column graph tool, and then go down to here. It says line graph. Click and drag out the kind of size you're looking for. Okay, go to Excel. In your 04 line graph file, open up YouTube subscribers. Okay, I'm going to grab everything except the word YouTube subscribers. I just want the column headings. Grab all these, copy it, back over to Illustrator. In Illustrator, I'm just going to paste it into here, click the little tick button, and we've got a line graph. Okay, this one here, because of the names of the columns here, the text doesn't quite fit, so we're going to address that. You might not have this problem. I'm going to close that down, and the first thing we're going to do is break it apart. So we're going to ungroup it, object ungroup. We're going to break this data. We know that already. It's okay. So a couple of things. First of all, I want you guys gone. Okay, that's still grouped, so right click, ungroup. You two guys are still connected. You're still connected. I'm going to ungroup. So there's a bit of ungrouping to go. Still ungrouping. That's, if you're getting lost in the ungrouping land, grab the white arrow. It's easier to select everything and just go bye. Cool. So the text down here, okay, they're all grouped. So we're going to right click them and ungroup it. Now they're all individual bits. I'm going to select them all. Okay, and I'm going to move them down just to make them a little easier to work with. Now I'm going to rotate them. Okay, you can use your window transform panel. Okay, but I'm just using the shortcuts. Okay, I'm moving it down here because what I want to do is grab you. You are meant to go in there. Grab the last one, and he is meant to go in there. Okay, then select them all. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can see everything. Select them all. Open up your align panel, window align. And I'm going to get them to align horizontally, vertically. I always get that wrong. Okay, and then distribute the centers. And that means they're all going to kind of line up together. Nice. While I'm here, I'm going to make it look a bit prettier. Okay, so I'm going to change all the fonts. I'm going to select all of you and all of you. Go to Window and go to Type, then go to Character. Okay, and here pick a font, any font. I'm using our Roboto that we've used all the way through. We've condensed in this case just so that everything fits in a little nicer. Cool. What I also might do is play around with these lines here. Okay, so with the line selected, I'm going to bring the stroke to the front. And what color is this line going to be? Actually, let's do the size first. So with it selected, I'm going to open up my stroke panel. I'm going to increase it up just so it's a bit thicker. And what I'd like to do is change everything to be white because I'm just sick of doing it on a white background. Okay, so I'm going to make a colored background. So to do that, what we're going to do is going to select any one of these lines. Okay, and then go to select the same stroke color. There we go. So everything with the same stroke color is going to be selected. And I'm going to say be this kind of off-white. Cool. And then I'm going to grab all of the text and do the same. Make sure you only click on the text. Now those guys are joined. Okay, so all I need to do is select them, ungroup them. A lot of ungrouping. Now if I click on this now, okay, it's putting a stroker on the outside. So what I need to do is make sure that the fill is in front and click that same color. I'm going to leave the black dots because I don't really care. I'm going to go and change those out in After Effects. So we need to do our layers thing. Okay, where everything's on one layer, what I need to do is get, especially this line, onto its own layer. I can see it there, it's selected. So we're going to have three in this case. We're going to have the axes, the line, and the dots. So this one here, breaking my own rules and actually naming these. What is this one here is going to be the line. And this top one here is going to be the dots. The layer order is kind of important. We can change it in After Effects, but I want this at the bottom line and then the dots on top. So you, Mr. Line, need to go to the line. And the dots, I don't know where the dots are. I'm going to turn the line off. Where are you, dots? You are these guys. You go up to the top there. Turn him back on. Cool, so now we've got them all on their own layers. The one thing we need to do for a line graph is that we're going to use the trim paths method that we used earlier for some of the infographics to get the line to draw. Remember that? Okay, but at the moment, I'll use the white arrow. You can see they're actually separate pieces. They're easy to join. Select them all, go to Object, get onto Path and click Join. Okay, now they're just one solid object. It's going to make it easier. Cool, let's hit Save. I'm going to put mine on my desktop in our After Effects files. I'm going to call this one Line Chart. Click OK. Now let's jump over to After Effects. So I've got a file, new project open, okay, and I'm going to make a new composition. Actually, you're not. I'm going to bring in my Illustrator file and let that create it. So I'm going to double click the project window to import. I'm going to go to my desktop, find my After Effects files, and there's the Illustrator file. Where are you? Line chart. Okay, it's going to bring it as a comp. Make sure it's layer size. Okay, I'm going to double click the comp. I'm going to zoom out, and there's my graph. What I'd like to do is put a background layer in. Okay, so layer new solid, pick a color. I'm going to pick, I don't even know, that color. Click OK, bring it to the bottom, right click it, give it a name, breaking all my rules. Can't spell ground. Let's lock it so we can't mess with it. And that is going to be actually the beginnings of my chart. Okay, so there's 3 layers, these 3. The axis we can lock, we don't want to move that around. Actually, do we want to move them all at the moment? They're not quite centered on my page. I need space for a title. So I'm going to lock the axis because I don't need to change that. The lines, we're going to turn the dots off for the moment because you might not want to animate the dots. The line is pretty easy. So the first thing we need to do is, at the moment, we want to add trim pass, but you'll notice that you can't add it at the moment because it's still an Illustrator layer. What we need to do is, with it selected, go to Layer and go to this one that says Create Shapes for Vector Layer. And it turns this one off and creates this other line that looks exactly the same, but that's usable as a shape layer in After Effects. I'm going to bin this guy here to make it nice and clean. This one here, all we're going to do is twirl it down, and we're going to say Add Trim Pass. Okay, we did this in an earlier tutorial. I'm going to twirl this down. The start position is going to be set to 100. So my playhead's right here at the beginning. Okay, it's important. It's a little hard to see because there's like a preview of your line, even though if I click off, it's gone. Okay, so 100%, you can kind of see it growing there. If I zoom in a little bit better. Okay, you can kind of see it growing across that line. All right, so I've got it at 0 at the beginning. I'm going to start my keyframes. I'm going to move it along some time. Okay, I'm going to drag it down to 0. And now, if I click off, we've got a line. Cool. Okay, so we're going to add some easing to it. We'll actually add our expression, and then we're going to go and add the little bursts where it comes along when it hits the different quarters. This is totally up to you if you want to continue on, but that's basically a line chart. Same thing as a bar graph, separate it on its own layers in Illustrator. And the difference now, instead of scaling up the bar graph, we've used trim lines to get it to grow. In Illustrator, you can create more than one lines in the one graph. Okay, just join the lines up, make them on their own separate layers, and you can have lots of little lines doing their thing. So we're going to add our expression to these 2 keyframes. So I'm going to hold down the Option key on my Mac or Alt key on a PC, click the stopwatch, okay, grab my expression, handy dandy, click in here, paste it, click off. That's not what I want. I don't want to use an expression, okay, because it's going to bounce at the end and that's... Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to undo that until I got rid of those. And actually I'll just put keyframe velocity. Oh man, I'm in autopilot. Cool. Okay, how good is it? I'm actually going to slow it down a bit so I've got time for the balls to appear. And how long? It's up to you how you want to kind of present the data, how much time you've got to present it, okay? If it's going to a PowerPoint presentation where there's lots of time, or whether it's an animation for like an intro for a website, you just want it to fire on there. But anyway, we've got our easing done now. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the little markers where they kind of cross the Q1, Q3, Q4 to kind of just pop up and do a little cool animation. And you might be looking at this going, man, this is going to take forever. What happens is once you've set this up and you've got your styles going, all you do in Illustrator is go back to your original Illustrator file that still has the data sheet into it, add your new details, do a save as, break it apart, join the lines, and just bring the line through, okay? And you'll leave the axis and you'll leave the dots, okay? And you'll just play around with those lines here and just add your trim path. You can even copy and paste this trim pass from this one to the next one. So it does get a little quicker once you've set up your first version. What we're going to do now is I'm going to put a little bit of extra love into this one by getting the little things to explode as they go past the line there. So to do it, I've got this dots layer. the same thing as we did with the lines. I can't use it as is. I'm going to have to go to create shapes from vector layer. You can see all the little dots there. I'm going to bin the existing Illustrator file. We don't need him anymore. And if we twirl this down, we've got one layer with the contents, and these are all the different balls. Okay, now the first one is actually this group 10. Can you kind of see there? Actually, if I click off, see the little dots there. The group 1 is the end there. Okay, you can kind of see them turning on and off. Okay, so work out where your dots are, and I'm going to start with this first one. Okay, and I'm going to twirl it down. And what I'm going to do in here is, weirdly, at the moment we've got this kind of like square thing. I don't want to use that. You could just use a bit of size and scale to explode this out, add some easing and make it look kind of cool, but it's a square and squares are dumb. So what I'm going to do is actually with group 9 selected, I'm going to add to it an ellipse. Okay, and it kind of goes inside of this group. Ellipse, you could do it with a star, you could do it with anything. So now I've got this big giant ellipse. I can get rid of that square, which is this thing called path here. The square's gone. The cool thing about it is it bang on where that square was. Now what I want to do is open up ellipse, and in here go to size. I'm going to start it off at 0. I got my playhead back here. Okay, right at the beginning. I'm going to set my keyframes going for size. I'm going to go along. I'm not sure how long, and then I'm going to get it to go up to a size. You could have, that's probably too big. You can decide on how big these circles are. Okay, and yeah, so we've got this like little growing circle now. The thing I want to get rid of, there's a stroker on the outside. Okay, so all you need to do in here, under ellipse, there's one in here. Where are you? Stroke. Okay, you can just delete that whole thing. Gone. Cool. Stroke's gone. Now I've got this little ball that appears. What I also want to do is give it a fill color. Okay, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool and just pick my off-white that I'm using. Okay, and the animation is not particularly exciting, so I'm going to use my trick where under ellipse path, with my 2 keyframes here, I'm going to hit the Option key on my Mac or Alt key on a PC to add my script. This time I'm actually going to need it. Hit return. Okay, and in here, now I've got like a little bouncing ball. Now you can play with your timing between these two, decide on like how well it appears. You can see, there you go, that looks a bit nicer. Cool, so I've got this. Now you're like, holy moly, I'm gonna have to do that for every single one? You can say no. Luckily, all you need to do is under group 9, make sure your playhead's at the beginning, that's the first thing. Okay, grab ellipse and fill. I'm holding shift to grab both of them. Hit copy, I'm using Command C or Control C on a PC. Okay, and go to group 8. There's some stuff we don't need. We don't need we don't need anything except for this transform. This transform actually gives its X and Y coordinates. We want to keep that because that's going to mean the dot appears in the right position, but I don't need any of this junk. That's the square, that's the line around the outside of the square, and that's the fill of the square. I don't need any of that. Click on group 8 and use paste. I'm using Command V on my Mac or Control V on a PC. Okay, and now the cool thing about it is, watch happens. Ooh. Okay, so they're both going. Now what we're going to do is we just got to play with the timing. Okay, and to play with the timing is we're going to figure out where this, I'm looking at the line in the background. Can you see my line? There he is. And when he gets to about there, I want this other little circle to explode. So I'm going to drop down ellipse, grab this guy, and just drag him along to somewhere close to that. Now, boop, bloop. Okay, so we're going to just do that over and over again. Do the next one together? Actually, no, let's just fast forward it because it's that same thing. You can rewind if you didn't quite get it. But get rid of you guys. Big thing, make sure the playhead's back at the beginning. Okay, click on 7, paste. Then open up ellipse path, find these 2 keyframes and figure out in your timeline when it hits Q3. Because we've got easing on this, it's not going to be like evenly spaced. Okay, preview. Cool. All right, now let's go and speed it up. All right, we're back. So that probably took me, it was on fast forward, so it probably took me about 2 minutes to go through all of that. So it is long, it's not like make a line chart and make it beautiful. Okay, there's a bit of jumping and like say these dots, you might decide actually, I've done it before, I've put loads of effort into one of these, you know, and then there's lots of intricate stuff, and it does look really beautiful. But the problem is it's turned into a nightmare for me because I'm like, oh geez, it's week 2 and I've got to go and put that quarterly sales report thing together. And I've kind of designed something that they've expected, and they're like, why is it taking you so long? I was like, because I've set up this monster of a thing with so many bits going on. You might just decide, actually, this is not worth it because it's going to be so repetitive. Let's keep it nice and simple. Okay, so dots might not be cool. So let's have a little look. Awesome. I like that little last one. It's kind of cool. Kind of zooms along in the middle there, and then this last little one kind of like gives it a finale. Okay, this is my actual YouTube subscribers per month. So it's not my total, but it's like how many I get per month. You can see here, I'm just starting to get some big growth thanks to Taylor and Jason. Good work, boys. Yeah, that's our little line chart. All right, let's save it and let's look at going on to pie charts.